Hey gang, this week I've got something really different for you. Hollywood model and actress Gin and Tonic is on the show. So expect a whole bunch of interesting in this interview. In one part, we'll be talking about how Gin posed naked in a body bag with a corpse of a famous record producer. And I still have a certain amount of skepticism about whether or not that body's real. Still, it's undoubtedly performance art, and it makes for a pretty wicked conversation with a delightfully badass Gin and Tonic. So let's get right into the show. So podcasters, today I'm thrilled to have on the show the multi-talented model, actress, and all-around super badass Gin and Tonic. And she's based in LA, and she's been doing all kinds of modeling work there and acting ever since she moved there to follow her dreams from Idaho. Welcome to the show, Gin and Tonic.
Thank you for having me.
So, Gin, first off, I think we need to talk a little bit about the passing of your hot Lil Geisha. I saw that on your YouTube.
You know, you have done your research, sir, the Idaho name drop there. And then, yes, unfortunately, as most of us in LA do, a couple months ago, I was in a pretty bad car wreck, and it resulted in totaling of both cars, including my hot Lil Geisha, my little Honda Civic that I got back in 2012. That was like the start of my traveling modeling career. And me and that car have gone through hundreds of thousands of miles together, literally. And it was really heartbreaking. It really was. And I mentioned yesterday to a friend that I was like, every time I see my car, it saddens me, which is unfortunate because there's a lot of Honda Civics out there. And every time I see one, I just remember my poor little car and how I killed her.
I'm looking at your film creds here.
Ooh, uh-huh.
And one that really pops out for me, I guess, would have to be Aliens versus Titanic.
That's definitely one that pops out to a lot of people.
Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, what's that about? I mean, it's about, what, a spaceship? You're on a spaceship called Titanic?
It's the Titan 1C, and it's like the cruise lines of the future. It's kind of like Wall-E inspired. So it's a New Year's party out in space on the Titan 1C that is in a collision, and only a few number of us survive on a planet. But are we alone? And of course, I'm part of that little surviving crew there, and adventures begin.
So, like, as maybe it's a bit of a spoiler, but it was in the actual trailer that I saw online. There are little critters that basically pop around and go after people, I guess, is the best. They're little carnivorous critters.
They're devious for sure. Yes, so we are definitely not alone, and causes a little bit of chaos among the group.
Is that out yet, or is that still being worked on?
No, I actually just met with our distributor of the film, Ted Chalmers of Tomcat Films out in Arizona. I was just in Arizona, and we went out. I made him take me out to Indian food, which good luck finding Indian food in frickin' Arizona. We found like the only restaurant there hidden behind some gas station. It was good, but it was weird. But he mentioned it's been in post-production since we filmed it about a year and a half ago. And he let me know, he's like, I've given up on trying to make it perfect. I'm like, you just gotta, at some point, you know, movies are like your children. And you just have to be like, all right, that's good enough. And you send it out into the world. And so there's been a lot of editing and special effects going into it during this time. And he's ready to kind of give it the thumbs up and like get it out there and get it seen.
It looks like a lot of fun. And also starring in that too, I guess, as the captain is Corpsey, which is a friend of yours as well.
Very much so. He was actually the one. He actually told Jeff Leroy, the director of that film. Corpsey and I were already friends and had worked together a number of times on various things. And he basically told Jeff that if you don't put Gin and Tonic in your movie, you're an idiot. And so they put me in there. And of course, seeing as how I do so much nude modeling and I have no issue with being on camera naked, that kind of lends itself to getting a part here and there, especially in these these B comedy / horror films such as this one.
It's super campy looking, and I love that. I
Yes.
super love it. I mean, I'm a big fan of, Mystery Science Theater 3000, some of those other ones, and it just looks like tons of fun.
Very much so. That's definitely the genre we're going for here.
And is it true that Brie Olson also was in that, or is that some sort of, did I misread that?
Oh, no, that's true. She has a fun scene with Corpsey and another couple gals.
Cool. So I'll be looking forward to that for sure. I'm going to definitely pay attention. And some of your other calls here, rather, is Dracula in a Women's Prison and 30 Proof Coil. Two very different looking movies from what I can see.
Very much so. 30 Proof Coil was actually, that was years ago, and that was kind of in the same vein. And I was cast as the lead, but I actually ended up being understudy to Alice Cooper's oldest daughter, Calico Cooper. And we brought her in. This was back in my starting days of acting, filming up in Idaho. And we shot the whole film in 8 days out in a barn in the middle of nowhere. And Calico came out, and, I learned so much and had so much fun working with her. And we're still connected here in LA and keep in touch and everything. And that was a fun one too. That was kind of where I got my start. And from there, I had a couple. It was from that film. One of the actually, I was already friends with him from a different film. One of the camera operators had asked me to come do a photo shoot, and those photos kind of blew up, and that's kind of really what transitioned me from acting into modeling.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely took a look at 30 Proof Coil, and unlike a lot of these sort of more campy films, 30 Proof Coil, I only saw the preview, but it looked like much more of a serious kind of endeavor in the sense of just being heavier, you know what I mean?
It very much so is. The director, who was coincidentally my high school English teacher, and we reconnected years later, Will Schmeckpepper, or he's the writer, co-director, and he has a very dark sense of humor, and that's very evident in the film.
I also saw Zombie Town, which is another interesting film that you did. It was a preview, not a preview, but it was like a short. But was that done for a festival or something? Was that?
That was just a personal project of mine. I wrote and starred in it, obviously, and I brought aboard a friend who directed it and did all the editing. And, it was just really a collaboration piece. And honestly, I just like to make things for the sake of making things. I have a number of different shorts right now currently in pre-production, as I like to call it. And Zombie Town was one of the first ones of those. And so I think we entered it into a couple festivals. I don't know that it was ever picked up. And honestly, it's more about the process of making it and having it. And of course, eventually I'll have somebody on my team here. I'm actually interviewing new interns at the moment. And one of their tasks is to take my work and get it out there and get it seen for sure.
It's like a written piece. So, I mean, it's a great deal of dialogue. It's sort of philosophical. And then you have at the end is when you have the sort of like, I guess the zombie money shot. But before that, it was like, it was actually sort of exploring in a comical kind of way, a situation of, I guess, what happened to a Valley girl if a zombie invasion occurred, It's kind of funny. It was really good. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. There is definitely supposed to be some aspect of comedy to it. I do tend to find, I was like, oh, this is a short piece, this is nothing. And then in the actual creating of it, I rediscover often how wordy I am. And so the length of the script is definitely all on me.
No, but it was I found it to be a kind of an interesting exploration,
Thank you.
What have you been up to just recently? I mean, I saw on your Instagram there that you were recently in Arizona. You did a big shoot there.
I did. So if you follow me on Instagram, it's at the Gin and Tonic, JINN Tonic. And I was just out at the Arizona Shootout, which occurs about 2 hours outside of Phoenix. It's a biannual group shoot. So about 36 models gather from all over the world. And then we had, I believe, 45 different photographers there. And it's just 4 days of dusty photo shoots out in the desert and just chaos and fun. And I kind of head out there. I'm for this particular event, I do model there. I'm one of the models, but I'm actually more of the model liaison. I've kind of become more administrative in the event, whereas I assist on the model side of things, and I kind of set the standards and put my foot down with things to make sure that the girls are treated right. And more importantly, I kind of run around naked with a bottle of tequila and keep everybody's spirits high.
Sort of like the mama model in a way, except you've got tequila.
Yeah. With the tequila, yes. I'm model mama.
When it comes to noodling, oh my God. When it comes to noodling, when it comes to nudity.
What time is it there?
Yeah, it's 7:30. It's almost bedtime for me.
Oh my gosh.
So, were you always comfortable with being naked? I mean, in semi-public, outdoor kind of places. I mean, did this come from an early age, this comfort?
Oh, no, not at all. In fact, I find it funny that, when I first started my modeling career, I didn't do full nude, which is a suggestion I have to any model out there. It's kind of, the myth is that you can't make money unless you're naked. And while there's some validity to that, I don't encourage anybody to do anything just for money, especially if it involves your nude image, which now goes, on the internet, and then it's there forever. So I took my time before, I felt the timing was right, and it was more about building up my brand, and it wasn't so much a matter of being prude or anything like that, or being against nude modeling. I just felt for myself that, I went with the timing I was comfortable with versus what everybody else is saying. But what I get on my photos a lot, on my images, is especially people that have been following my career for a while, or photographers I worked with in the past, they like to say, oh, I remember you used to be so shy, or you're not shy anymore. And that actually really pisses me off, because I'm not fucking shy. I've never been shy. Nudity has nothing to do with being shy. It has to do with the artistic expression. And so my comfort level with it, though, actually, I'm not comfortable naked. I find it a little bit, I like clothes. I like fashion. I like underwear. Like, I don't like sitting on surfaces with nothing between me and it, especially outdoor modeling. And since the very first time, you just fake it. You really do. Because nudity isn't something I grew up with, and that none of us really grow up with anymore. And kind of as a society, we've deemed as being sexual or perverse or pornographic, and so I get those labels thrown at me because I'm nude. But honestly, if more of us were just naked and acted like it's not a big thing, eventually being naked won't be a big thing. So that's kind of my attitude when I go into it. It's just, I'm just naked again in front of, dozens of people. And as long as I don't act like it's a big deal, eventually it won't be a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, clothes can be seen as sort of practicality, too. I mean, I'm here in Montreal. There's actually snow on the ground right now.
Oh,
so, I mean...
No, thank you.
Yeah,
That's
so...
best.
Exactly. So, I mean, the thing is that, nudity outside's not an option. And even inside, unless you want to pay a ridiculous amount of heat, I mean,
right.
It's not going to be... you're not going to be doing something like that.
Exactly.
Recently, I saw an interview with Corpsey from Girls and Corpses, and you actually went to a nude comedy club there in LA. So, I mean, that must have been kind of interesting then.
That really was. That was actually the first time I'd ever been naked on a stage where the audience was also naked. And that was a lot of fun. And I thought the most interesting part, well, of course, Corpsey calls me up and he's just like, hey, Gin and Tonic, I have this project. I thought of you. It's a new comedy show this Saturday, and we'd both be naked. I'm like, sure, Corpsey, I'll go be naked with you on a Saturday night, whatever. And what was so funny is we went up on stage at one point, and we were kind of introducing some comedians and giving away magazines and things. And afterwards, Corpsey said how close to a heart attack he was, because that was such like a nightmare. And it's so funny because he's worked in this industry for decades, and he's very involved in like the fetish community and the adult community, so he's clearly got no issue with nudity, but himself being naked on stage, it was just so funny how nervous it made him. And for me, it was just like any other day, really.
Yeah, I guess that's what happens when you're a model. But I would mean, I would imagine that maybe after the first 10 minutes, it's like if everybody's naked, then it's kind of like the novelty wears away. And then it's like, yeah, we're all just sitting around naked. But I mean, what about the comedy? Is it good?
Very much so. Exactly. And that kind of goes back to the whole, if you don't act like it's a big deal, then it's not. And a lot of the people within this, since Corpsey and I did the little behind the scenes interview, I've actually, I now host the nude comedy shows. We have a couple more coming up here in LA on the weekend of the 15th, 16th, 17th of April. So I'll be hosting those shows. And yeah, again, everybody's naked, you're naked. Within like 5 minutes, you kind of just forget. It's not about being naked. It's about, this guy's hilarious and I am laughing and jiggling publicly.
Exactly. And I mean, I'll be putting a link up for that for sure. And
Please do.
Now, something that might not become normal very quickly for a lot of the listeners, though, would have to be the photo shoot that you did with Kim Foley. So I'm just going to read about, this is from the Girls and Corpses website, and I just want to get some background for the listeners here. So Girls and Corpses is sort of like Maxim magazine meets Dawn of the Dead. There are pictures in each issue of beautiful, scantily clad young beauties posing with hideous, decaying, festering corpses. Also, we have interviews, comic book art, music and movie reviews, and other mayhem. What could be better? So that's Girls and Corpses. That's a press magazine. And again, it's, for me at least, it seems like more kind of like campy fun, although I've read that the corpses are, I've seen, and I've heard that the corpses are actually real corpses, though.
I would agree with that statement.
So the person who runs the magazine, his name, as I said, is Corpsey. How did you meet Corpsey? He is quite a character. Let's put it that way, from what I've seen.
He is. He's a doll, and definitely the magazine, people see it and they kind of get a little weirded out, or definitely they get weirded out. But it's all in fun, and it's a really good magazine. And he chats, he interviews, and gets photos with such interesting articles. It really is a fascinating and fun publication. And I tend to read it on the plane, and I get a lot of looks. The flight stewardesses don't really know what to think about that. But I actually, when I first moved to LA, I don't recall how I came across the magazine, but I sent him an email expressing interest in being in the magazine. And he actually said, "Oh, you're already in it." And I wasn't aware a photographer had sent in an image where I was this little girl with a bandage on my head, and the whole concept was that I was like drowned and washed up on the side of this lake.
Oh, okay.
And we shot that in Ojai, California, and that was possibly the grossest shoot I've ever done. Everything in my body said, "Don't get into that water, don't get into." But I did it, and it was disgusting, and I threw that bra away. And
was it just polluted, or was it just?
It was just gross. It was stinky. There was moss and mud, and there was things in the reeds making scary sounds, and it stunk. It was terrible. But so she actually sent that image into the magazine, and he'd already printed it. So he said, "You're already in it, doll, but I'd love to work with you more. If you want to meet up, I'm going to be, I think it's called the Hollywood Stars Convention." And he had a table there, and it's just a convention that happens at least yearly here in LA. And they have a number of celebrities that you come in and you get autographs and you take pictures. And he was actually in the adult room. He had a table set up with all the adult stars. So the first time I met him, I was on 2 hours of sleep and stupid hungover. It had been a crazy night the night before, but we won't go into that. And at the table next to us was Ron Jeremy. And it was kind of a slow day. So it was me hanging out with Corpsey and Ron Jeremy. And we've just been close friends ever since. We just had a blast and took a bunch of photos. And, ever since then, anytime he gets like a weird project, he gives me a call.
That's pretty amazing. Ron Jeremy, wow. So
He's a dear, but I wouldn't suggest ever being pantsless near him. Ladies, just a heads up.
yeah, exactly. This is basically what led me to you. Let's be frank. Like when I did Girls and Corpses, and then I did a Google for other things, and I ran into this story. It was being covered by TMZ and a number of other places, and so basically, Kim Foley, for anyone who isn't aware, he was a famous American record producer, and he also wrote for Girls and Corpses, and he died recently at 75. And his last wish actually was to have his corpse, and I quote, defiled by fetish models.
Yes.
Literally pulled apart, he said, but obviously that's technically pretty sketchy legal-wise. So
Yes.
this didn't happen, but his wishes were granted when Girls and Corpses was able to actually intercept the body and do a quick photo shoot with a naked gin and tonic.
That's me.
And you went in the body bag itself. I encourage the listeners to take a look at the picture. I mean, they may think it's kind of grody, but it isn't really that bad. I mean, Kim, though, I mean, let's face it, to me, he doesn't even really look, I mean, he looks almost waxy in that picture at that point. You know,
like,
he has no color whatsoever.
Right. He's not, we take care of our bodies in this particular society once they're dead. We don't even give them the option to decompose for a little while. The embalming process is pretty intense. So honestly, like people think, a dead body, but it's nothing like, zombie films. It's just kind of a waxy figure.
So you climbed into the body bag with Kim, and you were, based on the picture, as far as I can tell, I mean, I didn't see any clothes. You were just completely naked, right?
I was.
Yeah. So nothing, and it's very artistically done. So you're not.
Well, I suppose I had some latex gloves on, but
That's
that
true.
was just
That's true.
Clearly for the show.
Well, I mean, yeah, when you get into a body bag with a corpse, it's always good to put on the gloves for hygienic purposes.
Exactly. I made sure to do that.
But did it smell? What was the texture?
No smell. Not really. I mean, maybe kind of like a medical smell is how I would describe it.
Because of the
kind of like that plasticky medical
preservatives,
smell.
Yeah.
Exactly. And as far as like how Kim felt is, cold, I guess. Not even necessarily cold, but not warm.
Yeah. So
no temperature, no smell,
We're getting really clinical here, but it's just, these are questions that I have. I mean, how many people do I know or have I met who've done such a thing? That would be pretty much zero. So, I mean, yeah, totally. And you
now one.
One, exactly. This is awesome. So were you scared at the time, or were you a little skeeved out, or were you like, this is cool, it's fine?
Oh no. In fact, so Kim Fowley had passed, and he'd already made the statement about his wishes for his corpse, and Corpse had been on TMZ saying that he personally wanted to fulfill these wishes, and it was all kind of scandalous. And he sent me the link, and I called him and I said, well, do you have your model yet? Because I would love to. And he said, I would love to have you do it. So I was actually I volunteered for the shoot, and I was very excited. Honestly, I was very excited. I still feel really kind of blessed, I guess, to have been
honored.
Part of that.
Yeah,
very
because
honored.
this just wasn't just some Joe. Like, this was literally a 1 in a million kind of person based on the Wikipedia that I've seen. Kim Foley, he did amazing work, and he was just almost like an oddity for years, decades.
Very much so. He had such a huge influence in the rock world, and just a rock star himself, and so many people that loved and respected him. And he was a crazy guy, and unfortunately I never met him alive, but our brief meeting that we did have, I enjoyed him very thoroughly. He seemed like a sweet guy.
Yeah, well, gentleman, right?
Exactly. Very respectful, very kind.
Yeah.
Gracious co-model.
Yeah. And I mean, in a way, you will be part of his last, I don't know if act of rebellion might be, but definitely it's his last art piece, his last production, because
Very much so.
I have similar thoughts when I see David Bowie's last work. It's like it's his, it's his last hurrah, it's his last production. And
Absolutely.
That was like performance art, literally.
Very much so. And I was so happy that we were able to make it happen. In fact, the day of the shoot, of course, we took about 15 minutes to do it because Corpsey has his ways. I can't go into details, but we were able to make the shoot happen very quickly. And it doesn't really rain here in LA often. And when it does, people freak out because they're just not used to it. And that day, as we got to our little secret location, it started pouring. And it lasted about that same 15 minutes. And, after I put on my clothes and we ran back away, the rain stopped. So during the whole shoot, I had this symphonious rainstorm going in as kind of the soundtrack to it. And I really think that was I took it as such a great sign that here we were, people, I guess funerals end up being for the people that are still around. And it's very rare that the dying individual's wishes are granted. And so it was so great to, like you said, this act of rebellion. Like, I want my corpse to be with naked chicks and to be on a magazine cover.
It's pretty fucking awesome. I mean, most people were like, whatever, but he was just like, yeah, I want to go and I don't know, just a blaze of fiery, glory, basically. Mm-hmm. I guess I'd like to end off on something here. Mm-hmm. I noticed actually on your Instagram and also basically all over, you're currently talking about a yoga retreat that you want to go on. Yes. Can you explain a bit about that? It seems like you won a contest to go to Spain.
Mm-hmm. I did, actually. There was some yoga retreat that had a Instagram contest, 6 days in a row. You get the email in the morning to do this yoga pose and post a photo. And I did that. And every day I posted a photo of the yoga pose. And I tried to focus on variety and location. So, for example, the first one was in the garden of my grandparents' house. And then the last one was out in the desert in Arizona. And somewhere in the middle was me and my cat and the Hollywood sign. And I found out April 1st, I found out that I won. So I won the retreat. It's 6 days, 7 nights in Spain. And it's the first week of May. But unfortunately, you don't win travel costs. The travel costs are not included, just the retreat itself. So starting on April 1st, I started a GoFundMe and I sent out a newsletter to, all of my VIPs and everything that, hey, this isn't an April Fool's joke, I hope. And it's not. It's proven not to be. That I'm going to Spain. And all of a sudden, I need to get a $1,400 plane ticket. And if you help me, I will send you my butt, is how it basically comes down to. Like, send me $5 and I will send you my butt in order to get my little white girl booty out to Spain.
When did you get into yoga? Were you always into that, or was that something that happened recently?
Very much so. I've not always been into that. Yoga, I mentioned, back when I used to be a personal trainer, I was the one that told you, now run 5 miles, and I'd go home and eat pizza and get high. And so I was a terrible example, but eventually I started teaching aerobics classes, and that was kind of the beginning of having any kind of fitness in my life. But to this day, yoga has been something that I try to commit myself to, that I struggle with purely because the expression is, I love yoga. It's like a moving meditation, and I fucking hate meditation. I'm no good at it. I can't turn my brain off. The only way that I used to be able to exercise was those aerobics classes for an hour. The only thing you can think about is, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Just keep going. I'm going to die. Versus yoga, that's, such an exercise physically, but also mentally. And that's really the biggest struggle for me. And so I find a lot of times I still get angry while doing it because I'm like, is this over yet? And they're like, breathe in the good energy. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. I just want to.
Yeah.
So it's a struggle for me.
Channel your spirit animal.
Exactly.
I actually did some meditation at a Tibetan Buddhist temple nearby.
Oh.
And my legs are so non-flexible that I would sit on that little mat, like the little like cushions, and my legs would go completely to sleep. And then we would have to do walking meditation afterwards. So I got up, and one time my leg was so rubbery that I almost fell right into the altar.
My goodness.
I just came a few inches away from falling to the altar, and the monk thought it was kind of hilarious, actually. He was cool with it, right? They're super chill. Yeah, the Tibetan Buddhists are super, super chill. Jin, I'm just going to let the viewers, or rather the listeners, know that they can go to jinintonic.com. I didn't spell it out. It's actually JINNTONIC.com.
That's me.
And also everywhere else, you're the Gin and Tonic. So the G, again, not gin like the drink, but JINNTONIC. I think I got that right. Yes. And that's for Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Tumblr, whatever.
Oh my goodness. I'm everywhere. Only thing I don't have is Snapchat, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Snapchat is, it came back for some reason. I'm not sure why. I want to remind everyone to check out your GoFundMe as well to let you go to Spain. And do you have any upcoming gigs or something?
Oh, very much so. So in addition to hosting like the nude comedy shows here in LA, and this trip to Spain, and of course all my travels just for modeling as well, which all of my tour dates are on my site as well. So check those out and sign up for my monthly newsletter, and I'll let you know where I'll be. And each month I'll send you a super sexy wallpaper and like a free blog post and etc. But I also have some of my own projects in the works. A short film that is going to be for a specific film festival. It's more of a film, like a short film competition. I forget the name of it, but I'm in the works for that. And then I actually have a top secret project that I'm hoping to have released here in July that, again, will be written and starring me, but it's not a short film. It's something I'm hoping completely new and that I'm very excited about. And I have a full team that's coming together to create this. And we're going to be putting out kind of like the preview of it from July through December and kind of seeing where the fan base takes off with it. And I'm thinking it's going to be awesome. I believe and I know it's going to be awesome. It's going to be big. And I'm really excited to share it with people and to see people's reaction to it. And I'm afraid, sorry to be so cryptic, but that's all I can share right now, that it's going to be hot and awesome. And you need to follow me, and I'll be posting it in July, starting in July.
So there you have it. That's the big tease. Everybody needs to follow Gin and Tonic.
Yes, please.
So Gin, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Sean. It was such a pleasure.
Well, that's about all for this week. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Gin and Tonic. Remember to go check out her GoFundMe campaign to get her to Spain. Also remember that all music on this podcast is by Chromatics Music. That's KROMATIKS. You can find them on SoundCloud and Facebook too. Finally, remember to check out shareaslicepodcast.com. That's where you'll be able to listen to this episode and all the other episodes too. Oh, and we're also on iTunes as well. Please consider leaving a review. Thanks so much for listening, and see you next time.